These kind of interviews are to give the everyday world and the church itself a look into some of the actions of ministry. We hope to show some pictures of the handling and dispensing of the true gospel of Jesus Christ. The real test of success in the delivery of the gospel story is that it will produce radically changed lives. This presentation may also help people who are young in Christ and are deciding where they fit into the Lord's plan of delivering the gospel. I'm talking to Pastor John Lilley, the current youth pastor at Noah's Ark Assembly of God in Fairview, West Virginia. I've known Pastor John from almost day one of his ministry here. And I have nothing but admiration for you, John and Kayla.
Thank you,
and the things that you're accomplishing in Christ at this church. I believe you're remaining true to your commission that God's placed in your life. And I believe that makes all the difference when you're trying to convince young people to believe in the power and a one-on-one relationship with Christ. Pastor, where did you receive your education that allows you to achieve the call God placed in your life?
Well, I have a bachelor's degree from Valley Forge. It was Valley Forge Christian College at the time. Now it's the University of Valley Forge. And I went about doing that. I knew by the time I was 12 years old, I knew that I wanted to be in ministry. But when I graduated high school, my parents were not wealthy by any stretch. We were middle class. And so I did 2 years here at a local college at Fairmont State in my case. And then I transferred those credits over to Valley Forge to focus on the ministry aspect of that kind of stuff at Valley Forge.
That's good. There are obvious requirements for preaching, such as knowing language structure and preparing well thought out sermons and using correct doctrine. But did your Bible college education also fully represent a non-compromising direction of a personal pastor's responsibility to God and to your congregation?
Well, I think Valley Forge did a really great job teaching me hermeneutics, teaching me Bible study, teaching me preparing sermons. They did a great job talking about church finances and dealing with situations within the church. I don't know that any 2 or 4 year span of your life can possibly fully prepare you for how to present the gospel and how to live your life as a believer. Even just if you're just attending church on Sunday and being a believer in your personal life, let alone the leadership and the things that come along with ministry. So I think Valley Forge did a great job teaching the uncompromising truth of the gospel and how to present that and how to run a church effectively. We weren't in churches. We weren't mixed with the body of Christ, being trained hands-on, the type of things we would be doing in ministry. And so there were a lot of things you had to learn coming out of that, like you would with any degree. And so I think Valley Forge did a great job of preparing me for the truth and what the Bible had to say. But I think for a lot of young people that are coming out of Bible college that are planning on going into ministry, the rubber meets the road when you have to put that theory into practice as you come into a church.
What goes on giving out and living out the gospel from a pastor's eye view?
That's a pretty tough question to answer in a lot of ways, but I think for me personally, what it means to live out the gospel and what that means from my perspective as a pastor personally is, we do big events as leaders, whether it's our Friday night program here at the church, whether it's bringing in a special group or a concert or taking 50 kids out of state. And it's easy in ministry and it's easy in life to get focused on those big highlight moments where you see 30 people saved or you have these big, huge moments. And ministry and life and our walk with Christ is one in the hard days. It's one in the day-to-day grind of remembering to keep up with your Bible study, and to remember to keep up deep in your prayer over what you're doing. Because it's easy to get focused on the big events, and it's easy to get carried away just living moment to moment, big events to big events. And real ministry happens when a kid shows up on Sunday who is depressed and is hurting, and you're just able to take your arm around him and talk to him and just figure out what's going on with him. And nobody's going to write a book about that. Nobody's going to talk about those things 10 years from now. They're going to talk about the big events. But real ministry happens on just a normal Sunday when someone comes in hurting, and I'm spiritually prepared to show them a little bit of who Jesus is and what Jesus has to offer in their lives.
I resonate so much with what you just said, and I appreciate your ministry again. Your personal doors of opportunity probably led you to youth ministry. If that's true, can you elaborate on that?
Sure. My journey is probably a little atypical for a lot of ministers. A lot of ministers have big conversion moments in their life. My testimony is that God took my parents and their faith, and they gave it to me at such a young age, and they gave me that personal relationship with God at such a young age, and I was really shielded from a lot of those things personally. And when I was 12 years old, my parents were crazy enough to send me on a missions trip to Mexico with a youth pastor who had been in our church for like 6 months and a whole bunch of much older teenagers. And I went there, and they asked me to give my testimony in a juvenile center, a prison for teenagers and young adults. And I gave my testimony there, and people came up and they received Christ. And that was the moment at 12 years old that God said, "This is what I want you to do for the rest of my life." And at first I thought that meant missionary work and maybe evangelist work. And as I grew and I matured and I saw where my strengths lied, I saw that sustaining relationship with people over time, the pastoral thing, was really where God had gifted me, where I believe God is leading me and has led me. So.
Okay. How long have you been serving as a youth pastor?
I'm 30 now, so about eight and a half years, and there was about a 6-month hiatus in the middle where I wasn't involved in ministry, but pretty much nonstop for 8 years at this point.
Can you tell me what that area of service looks like related to the generation you're currently ministering to?
Well, like I said earlier, I'm a youth pastor, so I deal with kids from 12 to 18 years old. And one of the things, it's a cliche, but it's very true in life, is that people don't care how much you know until they know how much you care. And for kids, especially for young kids, we get them at 12 years old, kids speak a language that says, having fun with me, that means you care about me. Kids that don't get along don't play games together. Kids that do get along and want to be friends, they play games with each other. And so young people, 12, 13, 14, they communicate this way. And so what we do at this church, along with our Friday night program, and even on our Sundays, is we invite these kids in, we have fun with them, the adults to the kids, our church kids to kids that are out in the community that aren't church necessarily. And we invite them in and we have fun with them. And we just communicate to them through that we care about you. We like you, we want you here, we're glad you're here. And then we take that moment and we convert and we go upstairs and we talk about the gospel, and we just convey to them the truth that God loves them and God cares about them in that same way. And while God can't come down and play basketball with them, we have a chance to represent Christ and what He did for those little kids when He blessed those little children. And by the time kids are 18, we're talking to kids about trust, and we're talking to kids about how we care about them in a much different way by that point. But there's a part of us, the part of all of us, that says, I go out and I bowl with people, or I go and I have a dinner with people, or I go out and I hang out with people that I like, that I care about. And so there's a part of that never goes away in us. I think as believers, especially in the American church, we turn evangelism into this event where we go and we tell people about God, And we live our personal life in a way where we might show people who God is through us, but we never want to open our mouth to the family and to the people that are close to us because we're afraid of the rejection, we're afraid that they'll think we're crazy or something. And true evangelism, biblical evangelism, is marrying those ideas, is marrying this idea that I care about you and God cares about you, and I want you to know that. And I think we do a good job of succeeding with that in our youth ministry here. So, it means it means going to sports games, it means going to birthday parties, graduation parties. It means going to those things because those things communicate to those young people, to those young adults, that I care about them, and that God does too.
Well, the important thing is that you care. It's
where they can go back and Pastor D, our senior pastor, for example, talks about how he was in a life where is just very personally is hedonistic in a way. He would drink and he would party with his friends, and a lot of people in America have that kind of story. And there was a moment in his life where everything changed for him. And I grew up in a disappointment in my life. And that's really, I grew up in a great Christian household, and from a very young age, I took to Christ and I took to the things of God just right away. And I grew up in the church, and God protected me from a ton of heartache and from a ton
sacrificial because there's so much that you have to do. But
yeah, I'm not going to lie, I don't want to go to every 12-year-old's birthday party. I just don't. But when I'm invited, it's important for me as a minister and a leader to be there. And a lot of times I get there and I enjoy it much more than I would have expected. So,
are you seeing evidence of lasting relationships with Christ will probably continue in the lives of those that you minister to?
Yeah, I see this on two fronts. We have kids that came to our church from the community, very troubled lives, very difficult home lives, really wanted nothing to do with the church, some of them. But they came through our Friday night program, they had fun playing basketball, and they heard the gospel, and they got plugged into our Sunday night program. And I've got several young adults that are really succeeding in life in ways I never would have imagined when I met them, and people that are following Christ that I never would have imagined. And beyond that, in terms of ministry, we have people that came here from well-churched families, from well-established families in this church. And people like Madison Riffle, people like Chloe and Shauna, who are graduating this year, just graduated last year. Madison's been in youth ministry herself for probably 4 or 5 years at this point, going through a lot of the same things that I did in the early years, trying to work 3 jobs and trying to minister to teenagers in a church where there wasn't a whole lot of teenagers attending when she started. And we've got people like Shauna that has dreams of being a missionary and wants to go overseas and minister to people that are just financially, struggling, and to go share the gospel with them. And we've got people like Chloe that are considering at this point attending a college here and getting an education degree and just contributing through children's church or just contributing to their church and ministry moving forward through that.
Well, that's good. Like I had said before, the success of ministry is that people continue their relationship with Christ. And I think you answered a question I had. Yeah, it was the next question. That did you have anybody that was planning to be in youth ministry or that already was? And you did answer that. Pastor John, I know you seek God in prayer for all facets in your life, as I do also. Have you found that in life circumstances, God intervenes to make even the negatives work for the overall good of your life and ministry? You started that question off with an important thing. You talked about prayer. And I can't tell you how many times in ministry I've wanted to do something that I thought was a great idea, and just the more I prayed about it, God just really stopped that. And there have been times where I've been in prayer and God was like, talk to this person, invite this person to do this thing at a youth service. And I was like, that doesn't sound like a good idea, God. And I think we get so busy. Especially I'm bivocational. I'm working 40 hours a week and doing ministry. And it's easy to forget to just bathe these decisions that we make daily in prayer before we go at it. But yeah, as far as your question, as far as
things that look bad on the surface and the good things that can come out of those things. You know, we've had a few teenagers come through our youth. Teenagers can be disruptive. They can be tough to get along with sometimes. And I'll tell you, we had one in particular who really, on a weekly basis, was a little bit of a challenge to deal with and to handle. And I look at some of the people that we have in youth ministry now. She's a senior, and she doesn't attend our church very regularly anymore, the team that I'm talking about. But she invited her friends, that had any of our church kids invited, had anyone from our church invited. There's no way they would have come. They didn't care about church. They didn't want anything to do with God. But she invited them here because she found this to be a place where she was welcome, where she was comfortable. And as she was here, she found things about God that she drew to. And so she became a regular, and she started inviting friends. And we have a lot of teenagers in our church now because of this troublemaking teen that more than one occasion I kind of wish I could have kicked out. but yeah, and you see that a lot, where something that you think is going to cause big heartache and trouble in your ministry, God has a way of making those things work out for you.
Well, of course, I based that question on all things work together for good for those that love the Lord and are the called according to His purpose.
Mm-hmm.
Can you see far enough ahead in your ministry to tell where it might move in the coming years? And do you have a general plan or even a dream that you can share?
Yeah, as leaders in the church, in fact, the Word of God says at one point that the body of believers will perish without a vision. And so as leaders, it's important for us to have vision for our ministries, for in my case, for youth ministry, where I'm at right now. But it's important for us to have visions for us personally and where we think God's calling us. And I've learned on multiple occasions God can change that, and literally in the course of 30 seconds, your plans can get turned upside down. But it's important for us to have, I think, God-given dreams and visions. And for me, that incorporates probably some more training new leaders as they come up. Like I said, I've been in this for 8 years, and I was blessed beyond reason to have Pastor D here, our senior pastor, who had done youth ministry for years himself, who understood the ins and outs of it, and who was really a big blessing in training me. And I feel like I'm at a point now where I can begin to train and to teach some other leaders in youth ministry, and hopefully some other leaders for other church ministries. I really, as I've gone through this, I've realized that I have a big heart for evangelism work. My heart is to see the lost saved, and it's crucial, it's important for us to spend time with the believers and the people that attend our church on a regular basis, and to feed them and to minister to them. But my heart just beats faster when I think about the lost person saved, when I think about the people in our church who were on drugs and alcohol, whose lives are going in a bad direction, and literally in a moment, in an instant, God changed the direction of their life. And that's really where my heart and my passion lies. And I think, I'm hoping God finds a way to marry those ideas of training new leaders, maybe in going into evangelistic work and going out into our community. And I'm not talking about like travel evangelism necessarily. I'm talking about reaching our community for the lost in our community.
Well, Pastor, I sure would like to thank you for sharing with us. And God, through Christ, is still providing help and relationship for new generations. And I thank you once again.
Thanks, Ray. Pretty good.